So, once you have your drum track, hopefully it's 4 bars long and it has a little variation in the last bar. Now I've got my loop bar selected here at the top, it's set to 4 bars, so it'll just play that drum beat. And we're going to look today at how to write a bass line to go along with that drum beat. Okay, so it just takes 4 simple steps. Now our first step, because bass line is really centered on rhythm more than anything else, so rhythm is the most important part. We're going to start off making something that just sounds like this. Okay, so the way we do that is you add a new track. We're going to choose guitar and bass, but because this is EDM, I'm thinking bass synth. So we go into change instrument and choose something that you like the sound of. Okay, so there we have our new instrument. We're going to go into piano roll, and what we're going to do is we're just going to choose one note and make a rhythm on it. Okay, make a 1 bar long rhythm that you like the sound of. So because it's a bass line, remember it needs to be low pitched. So find a low pitched note by scrolling down here in the piano roll. Okay, I found my low F, I'm going to make a rhythm. So just all on that one note. So remember, we want to make this just 1 bar long. So to help us do that, we can set this to just 1 bar. Set our loop to just 1 bar. So we can zoom in, set it to just 1 bar, and you can see that what I just made is much too long. So let's drag that here at the bottom right to make it shorter. And we don't just want one note, we need to make a rhythm. So let's delete what I had before. On our F, using the pencil tool to write it in. Let's try that, see what that sounds like. And because I've put the loop bar at the top, we can listen to it over and over again and see if we like it. But make sure you're just listening to drums and your new bass line. Okay, and if there's anything you want to change about that, you can move those notes around until you get a rhythm you like. I quite like that, but I think the sound doesn't really show off the rhythm that I made, so I'm just going to change it to maybe slightly different. Okay? So there we have our rhythm. That's step 1. Okay, we take this loop at the top right, and that just copies it out, loops it around 4 times, so we have the same thing for 4 bars. Our next step, we're going to create something that sounds a bit like this. So really simple, you can hear it's the same thing twice and then it changes notes and does the same rhythm again twice on a new note. So what we do here is to split our looped 4 bars in half, we get this purple cursor right in the middle. We're going to right click on the one we want to cut in half and we're going to go to where it says split region, and you see that splits it in half. So now I can go to my second one can open that up, and in this piano roll, I can select all the notes and drag them onto a new note. So whatever note sounds good to you, okay, I've got my 2 notes. I can play around with different notes. So that's step number 2. You split it onto 2 notes. Step number 3, we're going to make it a little bit more interesting and come up with something that sounds a bit like this. Okay, so that uses the same rhythm, but now our second bar and our fourth bar have a bit of a melody. We've got a bit more interesting melody by changing some of the notes. You can see the pattern here that rises up and falls back down. But you don't have to use exactly that same pattern. So what we're going to do is, we have 2 groups of 2 bars. Use the same method again, get our cursor in the middle to split them, right click, split region. Move the cursor over here, so we can do that by clicking at the top. Right in the middle, right click, split. So now we have 4 separated bars. Yeah, the first 2 are on our first note, the second 2 are on our second note. We're going to take bar 2 and bar 4, and I'm going to change them into a bit more of an interesting melody. So the way I do that, again, is I open up here. I'm not going to change the rhythm. I'm going to move them up and down to change them onto different notes, okay, to make something that sounds good to me. So the way I like to do this is just hit the loop, get it playing round and round, and then you can change things as it plays and you'll hear how they sound. And if you don't like the way they sound, change it, and the next time the loop comes around, you'll hear what it sounds like now. Okay, and so you can keep going that round and round until you got something you like. So to make it really nice and balanced, I've done the same kind of pattern on bar 2 as I have on bar 4, except of course on bar 4 it's starting on a higher note, starting on that second note we chose, so everything's going to be shifted up a little bit higher. So by that point, you've got yourself a really nice bass line that works really well, and you can create a whole track out of this. But the final step, if you want to make it even more interesting, to make it something a bit like this, is you can just play around with the little details, okay? So you might want to change one of the rhythms, maybe in one bar, which doesn't change in another bar. You might want to cut out a note here, or add in just one extra note there, just so it's not exactly the same thing repeating over and over again. Again, be guided by your ears. So you can just hit that loop, get it playing round, and find what sounds good to you. Add a little bit more interest just by changing some tiny details. And that's how you make yourself a nice 4-bar long bass line. Make sure you're listening through some headphones because it can be hard to hear those low bass notes, low pitch notes. So make sure your bass line is turned up as well. Enjoy!